Hey everybody, we back again.
Backs again.
There it is. A little bit more slavery to it, but appreciate it. I'm Spencer, and of course that's our licensed clinical therapist, Naz. There he is. And this is the Different Spectrums podcast. Wow. We talk about movies and shows and the mental health that surrounds those movies and shows. We also have some laughs, so don't take us too serious. Also, don't forget to run up those likes for us and a stroke. We'd really appreciate it.
Yep.
So today we are taking a look at a scene from Bad Batch. Season 2, episode 12, The Outpost. In this scene, Crosshair and Mayday are sent on a mission by Lieutenant Nolan to recover some lost cargo. After a battle ensues, Crosshair and Mayday get stuck in an avalanche. After being wounded during the avalanche, Crosshair carries Mayday back to the base. And on the brink of death, Crosshair pleads with Lieutenant Nolan to help Mayday. Nolan refuses and shows who he is by letting Mayday die. Now, this is a pretty emotional scene, as we've seen, and I've heard from Naz. He had some tears for this scene.
Yeah, this was tough.
Yeah. It was a tough one, but I'm kind of glad, like I've said before, Star Wars is going in a darker direction, especially with their shows, as we saw in The Mandalorian with that one chick who I don't think anybody likes at this point.
No.
She's actually like buff as shit in real life. I was like, yeah, damn.
You can tell the jawline.
But topics that we're going to be covering today: friendship, connection, redemption, and then also following orders, right?
Yep.
So Naz is going to go a little bit more on the side of the redemption, specifically when we talk about social workers and what they kind of have to go through, especially when they're speaking with their clients, but then also having to have a little bit more with their leadership. Right. So Naz is going to get into that. Anything before we get into the scene, Naz?
That's pretty much it. We're going to talk about this is going to be more of a metaphorical episode compared to where we're like legit diagnosing, but I'll do some diagnosis stuff, some treatment planning at the very end. We'll get into it. As everyone knows, go check out the socials. Go check out everything on our new website. We have a shop that's up now, and you can buy merchandise, all different types of autism-like related things, podcast-related things, LGBTQ-related things. So it's quite wonderful to shop. It's up and running. It's good. We got some customers already. Also want to thank you and always mention our supporters. So if you go on to Spotify, you can also support us and help us by donating monthly. So appreciate the folks that are doing that currently. And as always, folks, subscribe down below. Follow us on Spotify and anywhere you find your music. So let's get into the ad. Let's do a quick scene. And then let's just talk about all the stuff.
All the stuff.
All the stuff. All right. Boop, boop.
Whoop, whoop.
We should put that on the shirt.
Whoop, whoop.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, people will probably be like, whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
I think socially awkward people would be like, no, I'm never wearing this shirt again.
Yeah.
Step aside! Step aside! Get back to work and load those crates. All of you! About time you two returned.
He needs a medic.
I see you didn't retrieve the crates, which means you failed your mission.
Did you hear what I said? Help him.
Certainly not. That would be a waste of the Empire's resources.
He'll die.
He served his purpose as a soldier of the Empire.
You could have saved him.
Perhaps you didn't hear me. He is expendable. As are you. And if you speak to me again with such disrespect, I'll see to it you meet a similar fate, clone. Now, leave him and get back to work. While you're still useful.
Lieutenant.
So we are back. Just watched the scene from The Outpost, season 2, episode 12. A little bit of backstory on Crosshair and Bad Batch. So Bad Batch is pretty much clones that were born with a defect. And so they all have like all these different, not superpowers, but all these different skill sets that make them different. Like Crosshair he's like the best sniper ever.
Marksman. Yep.
And so with Crosshair, he decided to side with the Empire instead of going against them like the rest of the Bad Batch did, right? So for him, throughout season 2, a little bit of season 1, we've been seeing him kind of seeing what the Empire is really all about and how they don't really like to treat, especially clones, with any type of respect at all.
Mm-hmm.
They see them as the old guard and something just using resources rather than, actual people or anything like that. So for this episode, Mayday and his crew were part of a station that have been there for probably years, or whatever,
Yep.
right? And so during that time, they've been waiting for the Empire to actually give them supplies and all that, but they never do. And so Mayday and his crew keep dwindling and dwindling until finally Mayday is the last one left. And then insert Crosshair here, where he finally finds somebody who he kind of connects with and seems like he has a really good, he might have a good friendship with them.
I think he just respected him, man. He just respected him.
That too. And also Crosshair himself has been getting kind of excluded from all the other clones. So right now he's at a point where he's by himself. The Empire doesn't like him, thinks he's just some wasted resource, while the clones kind of see him as somebody who betrayed his friends and betrayed the trust of the clones. And so for Crosshair, it seems like he just wanted to follow orders, and that's it. But he found out that just following orders, you do have a emotional side to that. There's more to than just following orders, because you're just killing people. And so we see that when he confronts Nolan about Mayday dying and how he could have helped him and saved him. And at that point, he just lost it and decided to kill Lieutenant Nolan. Right. Well, I mean, let's be honest. Most of us probably would. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Yeah. So that's kind of the backstory of Crosshair and a little bit about Mayday. So, Nas, why did you pick this scene?
So I was watching it. It's a random scene. It's been a random season of Bad Batch where they're adding in all these characters and they're building up all the storylines, like you told me. And so they insert this random clone in this outpost, and they're supposed to send these resources. And then this guy, this lieutenant's just an asshole, and just treats everyone very derogatorily, very classist, very racist. Right? Does not care about the clones at all, and so he's just making sure people call him by his titles, this and that. And the Mayday goes, "How many wars have you led? How many battles? But you're trying to tell me what to do on my platoon? Come on now." So they're building up Mayday to be like this. I thought it was like Rex or Cody type of vibe. Like they're building him up to be like a really good leader of his men, and he loves his men. And then you see him get crapped on, and then you see they get thrown to these other raiders and all that. So they're building up the storyline to make you really like this character. Well, Crosshair starts to respect him. And I think it's what it is, the kinship, right? And then he sees that it's his brother in arms. And Crosshair during the episode said, if you were to die like this, I'd leave you. You're dead weight. You're dead weight. And so the avalanche hits. And he's like, "Oh man, I'm dead weight. Take off. Just go. Save yourself." And he's like, "I can't do it. I can't leave one of my brothers in arms. That's who's legit a good soldier." And so you see this transformation that's been happening throughout the season, where he's starting to really get sick of the Empire and the sacrifices and watching his brothers, his clones, die. The same genetic material. All the other 99ers, right? They all have other defects. You got Wrecker, super strong. Tex, like hyper intelligent. Hunter's just a really good, tenacious leader. And then you got Echo, it's like part robot. But so they all have got their different hyper and special abilities. So Crosshairs is like pinpoint accurate with the gun, doing all the geometrical math and all that shit to get everything. He's just very accurate. He's a sharpshooter. But right, he said he decided against them. So the scene, I'm building it up, the background, like you said now. To watch him carry his brother throughout the snow and almost die himself, not letting him die, was awesome. That connection, that love, that teammate, it's how he was with the original batch.
Right.
He acts like an asshole, but he legit loved his brothers. And then you move it to the lieutenant. Now it makes you already hated the lieutenant. Now you hate him even more because you just let homeboy die. And then he's like, "You're disposable. You serve us. Waste your resources." And then he's blonde hair, blue eyes. I think they made that very clear that he was very white, where everyone else, right, is of color. All the clones are of color.
Yeah.
And so, there's some racial things going on right there that they did. And then you got the trumpets or the horns in the background, the music.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got that hawk that's flying through the air. And they talk about it during the episode on how much Mayday just thought they were awesome. He said, they're going to kill me one day, but
Right.
they're pretty cool, majestic. And so then when he sees that, and he looks down, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm going to kill the lieutenant now." So it is what it is. And then it looks like he dies immediately after that. Crosshair. He actually
Mm-hmm.
just passes out, and then I think they're going to use that. They're going to use some machinery on him to like get him to act right.
Probably use the same thing they did in Mandalorian. Honestly.
I think so. I think that's the same thing
Yeah.
they were going to do because they injected him with a big needle.
Right.
I brought up the scene because I thought it was a really good metaphor for us counselors. Flat out. Any helpers, caregivers, teachers, any professionals that are in a caring profession. Really good metaphor. We drag and we pull and we force a lot of people to move forward in life, right? We nurture them,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to use better words, but you get people to the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you just need a little bit more help. You done sacrifice so much to get this person there. And you're not blaming the person that you're helping. I'm not blaming my clients. All I'm saying is I need a little bit more help from one of my coworkers, but specifically maybe the boss. I need you to say yes on this one form. I need you to maybe help subsidize some of the income. I need you to maybe waive this policy. I need you to maybe let them stay until 6 o'clock when the after school program closes at 5:30 because the mama can't pick them up till 6. Right? I need you to okay a few things to help them survive. I will get into it in a second, but I specifically thought about me working with doctors.
Mm.
And it's mostly, white males. Thought about me working with doctors and how they'll say things or do things and harm my clients unintentionally, I think. Does a lot of damage. And you're like, you son of a bitch. I just needed you to do this one thing, and you couldn't do it. I'll take people to the doctors, or I'll take people here and there, and they'll be like, we can't work with them. They're too severe. If you give them this one thing, though, they won't be as severe. So I have examples I can give of these things. So I thought it's a very relatable scene. A couple different ways that we'll go into it, but I'm going to kick it back over to you. And then I can talk about doctors and some case studies, some cases that I had.
Yeah, totally. Honestly, I think, the thing is, it's like when we first started off seeing Crosshair and the Bad Batch and how they all remove their chips from their head, it was always interesting to see that Crosshair just never saw it their way, even with his chip. I think he said his chip was already removed long ago, and so it was just him making those decisions. And even though all the other clones, they wanted to help him, he just never really saw it that way. And it took him just till this point to really realize that, or maybe he hasn't realized that yet. Maybe it was just Mayday that he really just cared about at that moment because he just respected him so much. But yeah, I think a lot of build up, and then, like I said before, that isolation can always change a person. Can always make them desire like some type of emotional contact that they needed, but they never realized how much they needed until afterwards.
So she got weird.
Everything's gone. Yeah. So my question is, when it comes to like doctors and things like that, are you talking more of like medical doctors? Are you talking about like, other therapists? Like, what are you kind of going for in that sense?
It's a smidge of both. So if you've got a certain boss or leader, they might be a doctor in psychology, but not an actual medical doctor. And so if you got a boss, let's say you're a teacher or working with someone in a different setting, man, maybe you're a nurse, who knows, whatever. The leadership may not agree with your diagnosis, may not agree with the route that you're going to take with that child. Maybe you're, like I said, a teacher, and the principal's like, no. And you're running an after school program, and they're like, no. Or you're at the YMCA, and they're like, no. But you're like, if we do this one extra thing, if we actually just care instead of worrying about numbers, efficiencies, money, If we actually just care, wouldn't we be doing better by our people? Wouldn't we be a better population? And so that's what I'm all about, is actually caring about the human in front of you. But the
Right.
way things are twisting me these days is, I was talking the other day to Colin and his wife,
Mhm.
Heather, and she said, looks like you need to find a new job. And I was like, yeah. But also, I
Mhm.
feel like that's the way it's going to be at every job. It's just the profession is pump more
It
clients,
is.
pump more clients, pump more clients. And you don't really want to sit there with them. There's a reason why we post these things on YouTube and all this and Instagram. People are saying, I wish my therapist or doctor acted like that. I wish they actually cared. Because most of the time, they just kick
Mhm.
you out after like 5 minutes. They don't even listen to you.
Right.
So there's that part, being the client
Mhm.
and being the worker. My thing is the medical doctors.
Mhm.
So I can't prescribe medication as a counselor, as a therapist, as a licensed clinical social worker. I know the meds that they should possibly be on because I've been working this for 8 years and I know the meds that my clients have been on. I know what most likely is going to be prescribed. It doesn't take an idiot to pay attention.
Right.
And so I'll know that my clients should go get a medicine, or maybe they need to adjust this and that. So they'll go to the doctors and they'll be like, you don't have this.
Mhm.
You met the kid for like 25 minutes. I've known the kid for a year and a half.
Mhm.
I known the kid for 3 hours instead of the 15 to 25 minutes. Like, follow through on what the therapist advises. Like, at least consider it. A lot of doctors will. I've worked with a lot of awesome doctors, and they'll listen to me, taking all the info, and we'll decipher on what's going on with the kid, and then they'll make the prescription.
Right.
But a lot of them will be like, nah, they're not. They don't have ADHD.
Mhm.
Uh, because a lot of older doctors are going off a disability. It needs to be
Mhm.
pervasive. It needs to be disabling. It needs to be impacting their life magnificently to be fully diagnosed. And that's not a thing.
Right.
So specifically with autism, I'll send clients to doctors, or I'll send clients to other social workers, and they'll be like, oh, you're not autistic. Maybe you got Asperger's. My kid's like, that's not even a word anymore. Uh, she's like, well, you make good eye contact and you got some social skills, you got friends. Like, I don't think you're on the spectrum. I think you're just anxious. Like, why are you telling my client things?
Right.
Why does my client report back to me after I get back from vacation and now they're crying in my office because of the things that you've done? What makes people think they have the right to override something that I recommended or something that we're sussing out? And so
Mhm.
you get to these doctors with autism and they think that the kid needs to be legit handicapped.
Mhm.
And so I read you a quote earlier. I'm going to shout this
Mhm.
person out and tag them in a video. And maybe they
Yeah.
got this information from someone else. It says, it's from AUDHD underscore therapist. And so they're trying to get at ADHD, autism ADHD, because it's a thing. Like if you're on the spectrum, you're going to have some ADHD in there. So they're calling it autistic ADHD. It's a little bit different. Just recently learning about this because most of my students have comorbid ADHD and anxiety that are on the spectrum,
Right.
neurodivergent. She says, hey, therapist, stop telling clients they couldn't possibly be autistic because insert harmful stereotype. That's what it
Mhm.
is, harmful stereotype. It's inaccurate and causes harm to our clients in the autistic community. It is.
Mhm.
Bro, how many motherfuckers make eye contact? Me and you make really good eye contact.
Yeah.
You get flighty and avoidant at times, and then my eyes start to hurt and I start to twitch and shit. But
Right.
we
Yeah.
can do it for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Totally.
but they'd be like, "Hey, you're not neurodivergent." Like, yeah. As soon as I figured out that I was, so many things got easier, and then I understood why I was different and not weird and derogatory. I actually got to love myself, like fully love myself, and embrace who I was after I
Mhm.
accepted it.
Right.
After I got away from the disabled speech. And so these doctors will be Lieutenant Nolan.
Yeah.
No, you're wrong. No, it's a waste of resources. We don't need to do that or invest in that. I don't have the time, or I can't listen to your referral, or I don't want to argue about your thing. You're just a social worker.
Mhm.
You got a master's. I'm a medical doctor.
Right.
I'm like, okay. I do not condone violence, but Crosshair doing his thing at the end there. I mean, that's a vibe.
Yeah.
I was telling Spencer, when people hurt your people, it hurts.
Mm.
So my people
Yeah.
could be brown people, could be poor people, it could be neurodivergent people, right? It just depends. It could be Mexican, could be Arab, whatever. But to
Right.
me, my people are the people that are suffering. So if you're suffering and I'm supposed to help you, and then someone gets in the way, I'm going to want to fight. I'm going to want to fight. And so I told someone the other day, they came to my office, one of the homies, and I said, I was so mad. He said, damn, what's wrong? I don't never talk to anyone about any drama. I said, I was getting ready to stab a motherfucker. And he said, damn. I can't believe I said it out loud. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, boy. They looked at me like, should I call the police? I'm like, this why I don't tell no one shit.
Don't you snitch.
No, you ask you stab too. This is a joke.
Stab it.
There's a little touch. It gets intense, man, when you're fighting for people. And I know I'm not the only one that thinks like this. Maybe even if it's your children, if folks that have kids here, and your kid just needs a little bit more, but like people don't want to help and provide. Even with my father, when we were trying to get like him an MRI and physical therapy, and we go to this doctor after doctor, and they won't do anything.
Yeah.
And then finally,
The
my
worst.
father starts crying in the office out of anger.
Mm.
And he's like, what, no one, my son helps all these people. And no one fucking does anything for us. It's just some bullshit. And he starts to cry. And then what do you know? He got an MRI scheduled the next day and got a physical therapist the next day. Why should my father, a grown-ass man, have to cry in front of a random doctor to finally get something? It's not how the medical system should work.
No.
It's just not. And so I was talking to a client, and I said, I learned something from you. He said, what'd you learn from me? I said, you finally made me realize I have to be nasty with these doctors. She said, Nazir, you're advocating for your father. I said, don't you therapize me, bitch.
Don't you tell me what I know. Don't you tell me.
Well, she's like, well, that's what you would tell me, and that's what you told me. I was like, don't you use my shit against me. I taught you too well.
Damn. Master student becomes the master.
I'm telling you. And well, the good thing is I'm always willing to learn from anyone and everything. Every interaction, I can take something. But that's the way I'm built. I'm listening. And I told her, I loved her a lot for that because my father got what he needed. And we finally got the MRI. I pulled him out of the MRI. Or I didn't pull him out, but after they slid him back out.
Like, Jesus.
Yeah, they slid him back out and
there.
he was fucking crying. I was like, Jesus Christ, was it a panic attack? And he was going through all the trauma in his head. He's claustrophobic.
Right.
But we did it. But why should social workers, teachers, parents have to push this hard?
Right.
Why should we have to feel like you're attacking or hurting our loved ones? Our mentees, our students? So it's a good clip. So now if we move forward of this metaphor, we talk about redemption.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get twisted. Crosshair is a piece of shit.
Yeah. He killed a lot of people.
Killed a lot of people. He turned on his friend, his family, his loved ones. He's what we call a race trader, man. He traded on his entire race. Right.
You
he
just call him
enslaved
Uncle Tom. You just call Crosshair an Uncle Tom.
I ain't gonna say it, but you said it.
You just said it.
I ain't saying it's a race trader.
He just said race trader. That's way worse.
He helped commit genocide amongst his own people to save his own life.
He betrayed his race.
He betrayed his
I'm
race.
not gonna call him Uncle Tom.
I ain't gonna call him some other stuff. Oh, cooning ass.
Oh my God.
Boy, I hated him so much. And then you thought he was going to kill the girl the entire first season. So, but then he comes around. But why did it take this long? I don't know. Also, good soldiers follow good orders. It's a whole play on like the Nazi stuff too, right? Of them following orders blindly.
By the way, we'll do the scene at some point, but for this third episode of Mandalorian, it was just like Nazi vibes the whole time. And they're painting this picture, right, of the Empire. Before it was kind of like, oh, who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? Now it's kind of like, no, we know who the bad guy is. We know who it is. And it's
Yep.
the Empire, and they're very fascist / Nazi like,
Yeah. The way they salute everything, the way the First Order was all Empire and / everything moving forward in the First Order was all
Right.
replicas of Nazis.
Right. Exactly. And so I think we can, especially from this scene, we can also tie in just business versus like people themselves. A lot of people just look at it as numbers rather than people. And yeah, obviously you see that a lot. And like Heather was telling you, you're just going to find that in every business that you go to. They would look at them as people, as numbers, instead of just being people. And it's like, but you're a mental health section of the school. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're all about health, making people get better, but at the same time, you're not trying to do what they need to do to get better.
Yes.
Odd, because it might cost you a little bit more.
And it's not in the realm where, it's not enough time efficient. There's always something getting in the way.
Right.
So, I mean, capitalism at the end of the day is what rules us all. And it's capitalism. It's capitalism for the poor, but socialism for the rich. As we talked about today, where they make poor people turn on, or middle class turns on poor people. They get the races to all turn on each other and create this divide. But at the meantime, all these richest banks in the world over the last week just got bailed out.
Right.
And yet, they can't do things with student loans, or they can't increase minimum wages, or they can't actually pay teachers or social workers a fair salary, or just move people's wages up in general. Maybe you don't agree if you listen to the pod, but I assume you do. But I mean, those folks can get bailed out. Why not the other people that are at the bottom of the food chain? Because it'll destabilize the whole country. But why should they not have to pay for their sins of being inappropriate with the money you make us, supposedly? Poor people pay for our sins, our bad choices of buying things or doing drugs or having children. Right. But when you literally embezzle or swindle everyone's money and use it in bad investments, well, now Joe Biden or President Bush or Obama has to step in and pay for it all. Doesn't make sense in these bailouts. Doesn't make sense. But it's interesting. The way the world works is very interesting, man, and it's a tough cookie to eat. And you'll get some people that will buy into the propaganda, like Crosshair, and follow orders because it gives them a job and they get to work and they're safe, right? Because in The Mandalorian, they were talking about they miss things about the cookies and the food and the stability,
the
right?
little things.
They miss these little things.
Even though overall they were taking over the galactic empire.
Taking over everything.
They were taking over the galaxy, and they're just like, I miss these cookies.
Yeah. So, where was I going to go? I was going to go with therapizing some stuff.
Yes.
You got him, Crosshair, most likely going through some grief with his friends, his loved ones. He's got some shame, some embarrassment, some guilt now that's building up. He's going through a real psychological split of the man he used to be, the man who he had become right after the chip was removed, and the man who he is now, and regretting a lot of things. And he's seeing the death of his people, right? And it's not just like, ooh, Nas, I see another brown person. Like, this is legit your fucking clone that's like 99% your material, 100% your material. It's a little different. Imagine watching yourself die at the hands of like someone. That'd be creepy. So he's going through this existential crisis, finally decides to like speak up, kills his boss. Please do not do that. We do not recommend you hurting anyone or condone it. Yes. So in that moment of time, I feel like this is his redemption story. Like you said, it's I feel like he's going to get imprisoned and enslaved now, but this is a redemptive part of his story. I assume somehow he'll get out, or I assume Hunter will somehow bust him out or wherever he's at. Somehow he end up back with the Bad Batch.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
We got to.
Before you go a little bit more into the therapeutic side, I want to ask, what for you are you going to be looking for in your future for like your, mental health kind of career, honestly, overall? Because, you know, or like we said before, you can't really get to be your full self on the corporate side of everything, right? And I don't want to put you in a bad spot, especially on a podcast that you do. But at the same time, what would you want to change, honestly, for the place where you work now or where you want to work in the future? Like, where do you want to go?
So one thing is it would need to be a place where everyone felt safe enough to talk in dialogue.
Right.
Me being the boss and running things will have things confronted immediately.
Right.
And there will be no of this, everyone's talking behind each other's backs. It's just not the environment that I foster. And that's not how I run with any of my interns under me. They all come to me with things. We talk it out. I have interns that come with me with stuff literally the other day. Didn't tell no one. Told me. We consulted. We figured it out. It's done. It's handled. They'll execute the order afterwards. And it's going to end up very fabulous. I validated some things. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about
it.
Right. But there needs to be a comfort level. There also has to be a willingness to be educated. There has to be a willingness. I'm not telling you got to believe everything on race or gender or sexuality, everything that we preach. But you have to be willing to listen and engage. Specifically on autism, if I am the specialist, then you must listen now. So if I was at this facility, it would to actually have people listen and acknowledge some of their wrongdoings, or to have a dialogue about it. Why is it every time that you say the student doesn't have ADHD and I go send them out to get tested and they spend $2,000, they get diagnosed with ADHD? Why couldn't you have just done it and medicated them? Why did I have to force a student to spend $2,000?
Right.
Why disrespectfully say sarcastic things? I think that I know that it's, and you think that I don't think it's derogatory. I know it's derogatory. I know it, but I eat it. Why? Because I want my student to get things. I want them to go meet this person, this person, this person. So I eat things on behalf of my clients. I never tell them that.
Right.
But I do have them eat some things, because sometimes professionals will talk to them in a bad way, or they'll say grossly gendered or misogynistic things. I'm like, bruh, or racist things. I'm like, you did not just fucking say this to my client.
Right.
Yeah, some of the things that they say to women, like, oh, I'm not even gonna repeat some of the things. It's just very funny. And then they talk to me about it, and I'm like, okay, well, some of them will dialogue, and they'll like legit check the doctor about it. Doctors in the world. I'm like, look at you. Yeah, she's like, that shit didn't make sense. I said, damn right. I'm glad you said something.
Right.
So it would be in not necessarily it doesn't have to be the most progressive and inclusive place, but it need to be a place where you listen to the specialists. And then you take their advisement, or when you consult, you take their information under advisement, right? You use that information. You don't roll your eyes when I say this person's possibly neurodivergent.
Right.
This is why I don't tell people I'm on the spectrum. But maybe I should tell people I'm on the spectrum, because then they'd be like, oh shit. He's not like drooling on himself and throwing shit at the wall. Well,
right. Yeah.
At times.
I mean, I've been in your house with some shit on the walls.
Yeah. How'd it get up there? Oh. It's one of the upside down toilets.
Oh my God. Fair enough. Fair enough.
So it would have to be in a place like that. Maybe I'm running the show.
Right.
Maybe I'm working at a clinic only for folks on the spectrum. I don't know. Maybe I'm working for folks only of color. Maybe it's athletics. It just depends. I just know that when I don't feel heard, that sucks. But the thing is when I can handle me not being heard. When you directly hurt my clients, now we got a problem.
Yeah. And that's where kind of like that anger and a little bit of resentment kind of go into it. Just
That's
like in the scene that we just watched, right?
perfect.
Just like it, right? And then that just starts to build and grow and grow and grow, and then you have all of these. Now you have all of these like different traits for these people, like the people in the Empire, or for doctors that you're just like, can I even trust you with my client? Can I trust you with them? And it's like, why am I even sending them to doctors? Because they have to have medication. Well, how do we have this dialogue where we can actually do you have a dialogue with those doctors,
A
or
lot of doctors I do,
Hmm,
right? And then some of them are quite wonderful, and then some of them are just not.
right,
It just depends,
right,
and so I can't overgeneralize it to everyone, but a good majority of the time,
yeah,
it's not the best interaction, especially from a social worker to a doctor. A
right,
little bit different with psychologists, right? Because they got bigger and better degrees and all that stuff. Uh,
right.
Even though, I mean, I'll have my doctorate specifically in like autism research, like 2 months here, but but he doesn't know what he's talking about, He just diagnoses
Yeah.
everyone with ADHD and autism. I'm like, well, the ones that come to me that have it, yes. Yeah, I mean, it's a vibe, so we'll see what happens. Moving, and it's
Okay.
like this for everyone in their jobs. They see what happens,
Yeah.
they modify it. So this is kind of leads us into the next question: is there is no real diagnosis for him right now? I mean, it is an existential crisis. So someone like this could benefit greatly from therapy to process all the grief and trauma that just happened, because all his people pretty much just died. His home planet, or right, his home was blown up.
Blown up. Yeah.
So there's a bunch of trauma there. So tons of trauma, all the wars, the fighting, the split from his family, realizing that you've been played with your mind the entire time, realizing that you just murdered and commit genocide against a bunch of Jedi.
Mm,
Um,
true.
then you move into this crisis. So therapy could be really good for this crisis and this trauma split that's going on. The treatment plan, though, specifically for him getting out of this situation. So if my client was Crosshair,
Hmm.
how do we get a new job? How do we start setting boundaries at the job to advocating for yourself? How do we get you to speak up to Lieutenant Nolan? I could even ask myself the same thing. How do I do it? Well, internally, I can fight with the doctor and been being a little bit more blunt forward
Hmm.
now with doctors and even with my own family's health. I'm being more aggressive, which is a tactic. And I'm a larger human and I can do it. Uh,
True.
and then it's, do we need to get a new job? So I work with a lot of my clients on how do we get new jobs? When do we start applying? Do we quit now? Do we quit later? Let's start getting our resume padded. Let's start getting our letters of recommendation ready. Let's start looking at the job market in general, which is fucking terrifying, and then applying and then interviewing. It's all terrifying,
Yes. Right.
as you know. So there's steps
Yes.
to this job shit. And then it's about, do you have to move because of your family? It's a lot. It's very complicated. So how do we start moving forward and have an exit strategy while also staying planted and communicating? It's like some of my students that have to deal with some gender stuff. So a lot of my women in these STEM classes, it's all men. It can get a little weird for a lot of my women in there. They get talked over and ramrodded. And some of my women of color, the teachers will be weird. And there's some persecutory things that happen. My international students get taken advantage of a lot uh, financially and like forced to work longer and harder hours. So we set up these strategies on how to like start fighting back and how to stop feeling in this capitalistic thing of produce, produce, produce. And so you have to pull back, set some boundaries. It takes a while. You have to deal with the anxiety of setting boundaries.
Right.
It's a fucking grind, bro. Especially from
Yeah.
international students and from my women, specifically my black women. It's scary because what if I say these things and then now I'm the angry fucking black woman in the office.
Right.
So I had a couple clients that confronted their professors in their PhD programs and said, "Oh, it didn't go that bad." And then she started crying. I was like, "Of course she did. Of course the white lady started crying."
I'm so sorry for what my people did to you.
I'm like, "Can you just stop treating me like shit in class?" Like that's all I
I know.
asked.
It's like, I don't need you to apologize for your ancestors. Just be cool. Just be
Yeah.
cool.
Stop pointing me out in class, or when I say something, then you shit on it. But when one of the dudes says it, you like validate them. Stop doing that. Uh,
Yeah.
because other people have brought it up to me, and it's not even just me, my clients. Other people will
Right.
bring it up to my clients, like, you're being treated unfairly. Something's wrong here.
Mhm.
I got so many case studies for so many different things. But the treatment plan is support. You get a counselor, this support, legit planning out what you're going to do step by step. Anytime anyone has a plan, they feel comfortable. They leave my office. I don't care if they're autistic or not. They leave my office. They're like, I feel really fucking good. And I said, why? They said, I got a plan now. It feels good, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You came to my office, other counselors would be like, oh, it's so hard for you. I empathize with you. My bitch, give me a plan. Tell me what to do. I already know
I
it
just
sucks.
need the specifics.
Yeah.
I don't need this general statement. Give me exactly what I need to do.
Guide me. Well, therapists would be like, well, we can't tell you what to do. I'm like, motherfucker, you don't need to tell them exactly what to do, but you need to help them figure out kind of what to do.
Just be free.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
After you validate, the treatment plan is to literally make some type of executive exploratory plan that they can start implementing strategies.
Yes.
Solutions. People want solutions. Some people just want to be heard and listened to.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like when you're in relationships. Your partner doesn't want you to tell them what to fucking do. But after you validate and they go through all that emotional stuff, now they'll be like, what should I do? Bang! That's when you let them have it.
Gotcha, bitch.
I got you. My clients love it, man. My neurodivergent folks especially love it because they're just sitting there like, I'm literally here to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
Some of my clients will be like, so you're saying I should do this? I said, hold up now. I ain't say shit. I ain't saying shit. I said if it was me, but you ain't a 350-pound Mexican.
Mexican.
Yeah, Mexican.
Yeah, I know. I was like, wait a minute. There's
You're
more to
a
you than that.
355-pound diabetic. That's my race. What's your race? Chocolate milk.
I'm everything. Everything but white.
I'm just sugar at this time.
I'm sugar. I ain't that dark chocolate either. I'm that milk chocolate.
I'm not cream. Oh, hold up. Let me stop.
Hold on now. Getting hungry.
Yeah. I get hungry and turn on at the same time. I can't tell the difference anymore. Yeah, that's a good chocolate milk. Okay.
Oh my god! All right, land
the plane. It can't all be business, man.
True.
We talked about the Nazi stuff, following orders. We talked about redemption, friends. We talked about the anger. We talked about doctors. The diagnosis. I told you this one's up in the air.
Right.
Obviously, Mayday doesn't have a diagnosis because he's dead. Lieutenant Nolan, diagnosis.
Good job. Good job, doctor. He does not have a diagnosis. He is dead. Wow. You read that off a chart, huh? Fucking idiot.
Let me check the chart real quick. Diagnosis? Oh, he did.
He did. Thank God you're not a medical doctor. Jesus Christ.
That's what did, motherfucker. That motherfucker did.
He ain't breathing. That's for damn sure.
He got any chocolate?
I checked his wallet and he only had credit cards, no cash.
Yeah, we'll take them too.
Oh my God.
Lieutenant Nolan. I'm sorry. Lieutenant Nolan, obviously antisocial. So narcissistic, antisocial, does not care about anyone, rules really. Does not care about humans at all. And that's what you're going to feel like some of your leaders in a lot of these companies, corporations, right? You're going to feel like some of these doctors, and the job sometimes will make you cold. And like the job is starting to make me somewhat cold as well. But you really have to fight against that. So that was my big thing was, how could you not help?
So
that's what I related to is how could you not help?
So off of what you just said there, of how it kind of turns you cold, right? What are some things that you do to try to deviate from that and make sure that you're not getting in a cold place, right?
I smile because I've been doing my best this past semester or this past year to do my job and as best as I could, and I did my best to not get cold and to see more clients, and I ended up getting in trouble because I ended up cheating.
Oh,
I got an email like, "Hey, I'm about to get fired."
Mm-mm.
So the job is turning me a little cold. It depends on the way you look at it, though, because some of my clients, my wait list has gotten a month out for therapy.
Mm.
So by me keeping all these students on my caseload, it's not helping the current critical students. And so, excuse me, I needed to adjust. And so I am big enough of a person mentally to know that I needed to adjust. And so I adjusted. But to not get cold is to make sure that you're doing good work with your clients, making sure that you are making progress with clients, making sure that you're having good conversations and that you're actually paying attention.
Right.
Making sure that you're engaged and listening when they're talking and not somewhere else.
Right.
Making sure that you still want to wake up in the morning and like go to work. And don't get it twisted. At 9 a.m., I hate every fucking person that there is. So, but like 9:05, 9:15, when I'm talking to them, I'm like, all right, this person ain't that bad.
Like,
Yeah.
As soon as I walk in, fuck you. Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Hey, nice.
Yeah. Soon like when they,
wow, you're actually cool.
I'm not gonna lie, that's how it is. Like when they get in my office, like soon as I
Fair
get
enough.
the doorbell ring and then like my clients here, I'm like, man, fuck you.
Hey, shit.
Yeah. I hope you don't show up. And then they show up, I'm like, damn.
You're a nice person. God damn.
And then we start talking, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is I like doing this. I like this talking thing.
Right.
One of my humans, a couple weeks ago, I went to go walk out to the front and to grab them. And I said, hey. And they said, hey. And they looked at me all weird because, everyone's short to me. So they were like,
yeah.
I was like, fuck was that? It was super weird walking down the hallway. And so we brought it up. She said, yeah, you just look really angry. And I was like, I was? I was like, no, I'm fine. You were acting weird, so I acted weird.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't have my like human face on, and I had like my spectrumy face where I was like, human, next. Come to my office.
Yeah. I've gotten that too, where they're like, you look mean. I'm like, well, thank you. Appreciate that.
I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah, thank you for telling me that. Now go
Please-
fuck yourself. You were
please-
right.
yeah.
You were right this whole time.
You were right
Piece of
this whole time. Piece of shit. Stab. Yeah, in some of the cases it's very true, but for this human, I was actually excited to see them, and my mind was just somewhere else when we were walking down the hallway. So we talked about it,
Gotcha.
and I've done better to be more bubbly in the hallway now, so not to scare people like, motherfucker.
Get your ass in this office. Like, yes, sir. Yes,
The
sir.
reason why I freak out is because I immediately, as soon as I walk in the hallway, I forget everyone's name. And so I'm like embarrassed, and there'll be a waiting room of humans, and I don't know which fucking name to say. I'll be like, Bobby, Mickey, Tiffany.
Bobby, we got Bobby. No
Yeah.
Bobby.
Ain't no Bobby. My client will look at me, and I'm like, Steph Neck Mechna.
How'd you know my name was Stephen Nickamicka?
It's Jeffrey. I got it.
Yep, I knew it.
So that's part of the thing. Like literally, I'll have to walk out of my office, walk back in, read the name, walk back out, immediately forgot it.
Yeah, I feel that. I really do. I'm terrible with names. I'm just like,
And then if it's a new person that I haven't met yet, and it's an ethnic name, like my people, I'm like, yep, the brown kid.
oh my god, there's only one. So
Yeah. Well, I Purdue, there's so many international students and actually
True.
students of different races, so it makes it really tough. And so I hate it. I'll go to the front desk and be like, how you pronounce this name? Because my dyslexia, I can't pronounce any fucking Anglo-Saxon names.
that's fair. Yeah.
Like the other day, I said it was Gerard. He's like, it's Jared. I'm like, all right.
Gerard.
What up, Gerard? My brother.
My brother Gerard.
It's spelled Gerard.
All right, sure it was.
It was.
Jarrod.
Gerard Moran.
Oh, I ain't gonna get into him.
And so it's just tough. So that's why I found out I was being like sad face or angry face out in the hallway.
Right.
It is what it is, man.
Yeah.
Controlling our mannerisms is tough at times.
Yeah.
This thing with Lieutenant Nolan was sickening. The trumpets were really good. I thought it was just a wonderful scene to help folks relate to anyone that cares about anyone that feels like they're being left out.
Mm-hmm.
To anyone that knows what it feels like to be outcasted, Bad Batch, to be Spectrum and neurodivergent, Bad Batch,
Mm-hmm.
to feel like these genocidal maniacs, right? Pretty much most of the world has known what it feels like to feel colonized at one time or to be, oppressed. And I'm not telling people to be victims here and all that shit. So a lot of people need to calm down.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a wonderful people to relate to. These knuckleheads. I'm so glad Crosshair came around, but it looks like, more of the story. When you fight for your people, you'll die.
Well, once you can't really choose a side, and then you're finally like, oh, I'll finally help my people. Then they're like, shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't
Yeah.
have done that.
You chose wrong now. So
That was stupid.
that was stupid. Yeah, I pretty much hit all the points that I had.
All right.
Really excited to see where the season goes.
How it ends, really,
Yeah. And I don't even know how many episodes it's going to be.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was like around 20 or something.
That's what I was thinking, 20.
Yeah, good even number. But yeah, all right. So I don't have anything else. We're gonna do some outro. So once again, please subscribe to our page down below, right where he's pointing. He's pointing at it. All you have to do is click it. That's it. And there goes Dumbo. All right. What a fucked up movie that was.
Super sad.
Yeah. So please like all of our pages. We have merch. We have a website. Go visit that. Buy some merch. We have some cool stuff, and we have more coming.
And we
Yes.
got more coming. And I've seen that we said there was a bunch of varying discounts on there. We got it set right now for all the new folks. It's at 20% right now.
It's at 10%. It's at 10% right now.
Oh, it's at 10% right now?
It's
Okay.
at 10%. Yep,
Okay.
10%. So right now, early bird special. You can get 10% off all the merch.
There you go.
10%. There you go. So might as well. Could go to 20, but we'll leave it at 10 right now.
Okay.
We'll leave it at 10. We want more money.
There we go. So, folks, come on, get your stuff.
Yes, get all of the stuff. So, thank you everybody for watching. That's Nas. I'm Spencer, and this is the Different Spectrums podcast.
Deuces. We used to dance on the outros. Now I just say I love you.
And I awkwardly like,
Jeez. All right, everyone. Fuck out of my office.